2024 be the year of redemption for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? Or will it be the final nail in their coffin? Harry and Meghan and their PR team have really pushed hard in the media recently. We have Us Weekly, we have an article in The Telegraph, The Daily Mail, so many other publications talking about how the couple is going to make a comeback in 2024. And I can't help but think, well, you guys didn't even really arrive. You can't really make a comeback unless you arrived. And the couple haven't yet to achieve that, and everybody in Hollywood is exceedingly aware of it. They're all aware of what dismal failures Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are. That is something they can't take back at this point. A comeback, I feel like, is if you are very successful, have a period of bad times, either bad movies, bad business decisions, you know, sometimes drug and alcohol problems, those sorts of things, and then you make a comeback. Think Robert Downey Jr., immensely successful, had a lot of run-ins with the law and drug issues, and then made a comeback with Iron Man and Tropic Thunder. That is what Hollywood loves. But Prince Harry and Meghan, they've just never ever made it in Hollywood. And from the reports we're getting, I don't see that happening in 2024 either, because the same problem still exists. They have not addressed a single one of them. And so really what this 2024 comeback is destined to be is an epic disaster. And I really think this could be the year next year, perhaps Harry and Meghan even separate either quietly or publicly, because things are not going well for them. I feel like I always say that, but it's so true. Everything is not roses for Harry and Meghan. And if they want to amend and switch things around in 2024, they have to make drastic changes. But they seem to always go back to the things that end in failure every single time. They have not addressed a single issue over the last couple of years that have led them to losing potentially millions of dollars, if not tens of millions, maybe perhaps even hundreds of millions of dollars due to their own incompetency. And all of that is still there. So we are going to talk about this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide y'all compelling royal commentary. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, that would be awesome. Obviously, things are slowing down with the end of the year, but I have a lot of cool ideas for 2024, and I can't wait to implement them. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, I would love, love, love to have you back. And we have like super exciting news, at least for one of the tours for next year, that's sort of confirmed or reported, is that Catherine and William are going to Rome. And I may go and cover that. I haven't decided yet. It obviously depends on the timing and the dates and everything, but that would be so amazing. It's been a long time since I've been to Italy, and I love covering royal events. They are so fun. Obviously, the British royals are a bit more challenging because it's much harder to get press credentials, but I've done a couple of press events last year as a credentialed member of the press with the Swedish Jubilee and Prinsdag Day in the Netherlands. So I cannot wait to go back and hopefully do something maybe with Catherine and William there. I think it'll be absolutely amazing. And what a gorgeous, incredible locale. Italy is lovely. So I'm really excited for that. And we also have, if you love chatting about royals, and if you want to meet a group of people who also love royals, people make so many great connections on trips I've been taking with some of my followers to Europe. We've gone to London, we've gone to Germany and Austria, and now we are going to Scotland. So if you guys want to sign up for that, it'll be a great time because we'll be in Edinburgh, we'll go to all these different castles, we'll go up to the Isle of Skye, and like this most picturesque castle on a loch. It will be amazing. So if you guys are interested in any of that, a link will be down below. And if you like my jewelry, Ana Lucia diamonds, especially since it is Christmas, well, almost Christmas, and you're looking for a gift maybe for someone else or yourself, these are great because I love these so much. I do absolutely love their pieces. They're gorgeous, they're amazing, and I feel like they're just so classy. And it's always nice to have a little bit of sparkle because what I love doing, I have a fashion channel dedicated to royal fashion, and I've been doing a ton of tiara videos, and every time I see those glittery pieces of jewelry, I want my own sparkle. I want my own sparkle, and I feel like Ana Lucia totally brings that. Oh, and I forgot to add as well, Ana Lucia diamonds are also having a sale, so there's a lot of really cool things that you can check out there that I think would be absolutely amazing. And again, if you use my code ROYAL20, you save 20%. So again, you guys, if you're interested, feel free to check out all the links down below. But let's get back to this Harry and Meghan debacle because this has been such a long time coming. January will mark 4 years since Brexit, and Harry and Meghan have stepped from one landmine to the next the entire time. And they've lost millions of dollars already. Millions, if not tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars so far. And that's not an exaggeration because they lost the Spotify deal, and I would bet you with only 12 episodes produced, I imagine they left at least $10 to $15 million on the table. And obviously Spotify was trimming back, cutting back programs and things, but if your program was good, they would have kept it. And I remember somebody asking me on Twitter, is like, how did they lose the Spotify deal? I was like, well, they were stupid. That's how they lost the Spotify deal. There's really no way around it. If you're making a company money, they will fight tooth and nail to keep you. The problem was Harry and Meghan weren't making them any money. Their ideas were bad. Their work ethic was bad. Archetypes was a failure. It was a dud. It was boring. It was tedious. It was very sanctimonious and lectury, and people didn't listen. And because of that, Harry and Meghan lost out on that contract. And I think Netflix is next up. We don't know about the publisher deal. Somebody mentioned, and I don't know if this is true, that apparently the publisher for Harry's book hasn't recouped his advance yet that they gave him. And I think they gave him probably $10 to $20 million for that book. But obviously printing is very, very expensive. You do have ebooks, but they gave away a lot of books on Audible for free, which is an audio version. So you just gotta wonder, are Harry and Meghan really worth the investment? And I think overall, that's the problem that they've had since Megxit. They've had 4 years now to prove their worth, and they've utterly failed to do that. Completely and utterly failed to do that. Yes, Harry's book, Spare, did sell. Yes, their Netflix show, Harry and Meghan, was watched. But anything else not directly referencing the royals, not directly bringing up dirty laundry, not directly going into the gossip route, none of that has made them any money. None of that has made any other backers any money. And all these entertainment institutions that put all their eggs in the Harry and Meghan basket, they're all taking a step back and going, you know what? We really have to reevaluate. Hollywood is doing a massive autocorrection after going way too in on streaming. Netflix is probably the only streaming company that has made money, but Harry and Meghan have only had one really successful show, and it was the one Netflix knew would be successful. There are other things that they've let Harry and Meghan indulge in have not gone anywhere, and so I'm sure they're reevaluating. We don't even have any concrete plans for Harry and Meghan in 2024. I do have some hints according to the Telegraph and the Daily Mail, but they're still not like good hints. They're vague. They're saying something is being pushed back. All these sorts of things. We even have from Omid Scobie. Meghan Markle's influencer program, whatever that would happen to be, has gone through at least 5 iterations so far. And so that is a huge, massive problem. And it shows that in 2024, I just don't see any of this changing. And we do have an interesting quote here that talks about this seismic thing that's happening. It says, something is beginning to unwind at the heart of Harry and Meghan and Harry. I think 2024 is going to be seismic, either because they're going to do something to recover and find a new positive tactic, or it's going to be the undoing of the brand. It can only go one of two ways. It can't stay where it is at the moment because it's clearly not working. And I think that's so incredibly true. It's not working. And as we'll go through, the plans Harry and Meghan have are not going to do anything to course correct. And I think that's partly because Harry and Meghan don't want to hear any criticism of them or any constructive criticism. I'm not just talking about name calling or something like that. I'm just going to say, well, you know what? You guys really should take 12 steps back and not be in the public eye for a bit, not leak different stories, because we know they leak. They leak different stories, or they have to go to their friends and those sorts of things. Take a step back, move out of California, then reevaluate where you're at, because right now they just leave a bad taste in everybody's mouths, and that's just not going to get any better. And so they really have to figure out how they're going to address this issue. And so one of the first things they're planning to do to address the issues that they have is they're going to move out to Montecito. And my first thought is, why did you guys move to Montecito in the first place? It's 2 hours from LA. It's not technically that far, but with the traffic, it's horrendous. And you're completely removed from the industry way out there. Why in the world would you guys have moved to Montecito? Except for the fact that you just like the zip code. It was a stupid decision. Yes, you get technically more land in Montecito, but you are essentially removed from everything in Hollywood. Montecito is a place you go in on the weekends. That is not your home base, especially for what Harry and Meghan were trying to do. I thought when they first moved to Montecito, and I was like, really? Bel Air, Holmby Hills, Calabasas, you have Brentwood. There's so many other places in LA that make much more sense if you are an industry person, which Harry and Meghan, or I think clearly Meghan, wants to be. So moving there in the first place was just incredibly stupid on their part. And it would require them to commute several hours every day to get to LA if that's what they needed to do. It just wasn't workable, it wasn't tenable, and it was just not a smart decision to make. And yes, maybe they did it to avoid the paparazzi, but at the same time, Meghan still calls the paparazzi from time to time to photograph her in Montecito. So yes, maybe they'll be surprised more by the paparazzi in LA, but it wouldn't change that much because even now, a lot of the paparazzi pictures we get of celebrities are actually ones that have been staged in some way. A lot of them are, because with the advent of social media, it's become much more easy for celebrities to put their public profile out there, and so they're more likely to just do that, and it makes the pictures the paparazzi take less valuable. So it all depends on the situation, but honestly, I think it makes so much more sense for them to have always been based in LA rather than Montecito. But again, I just don't know what they were thinking. It could have been just a hubris thing, and it could have been a land thing. Yes, technically you get more land, but I always thought as well is that they paid way too much for the house that they have. Harry and Meghan, yes, their contracts were worth potentially $125, $150 million. But some of that cost was eaten up in production, so they don't get all that cash. They get some of it. And it's dependent on quality work that is entertaining and continues to have value to whatever platform it's being hosted on, whether that is Netflix or Spotify. They're not doing any of that. And so because of it, why in the world would they keep getting these massive, massive paychecks? They're just not. They're just not. And so they have this house that's worth $15 million that they took out a $9 million mortgage on, 9 or 10 million. And they pay for 24-hour security, which is ridiculous. And it's just going to get crazier and crazier. And so to move to LA, they may get a house that's smaller. It'll be interesting to see what they try to buy. If they try to buy something more expensive, I think I would raise my eyebrows going, can you guys really afford that? Because it seems like you're pushing your limit. Because at this point, if they can't course correct, if they can't change things, they could go into bankruptcy, or they have to make a really humiliating move to a much smaller place. That's what's in the cards for Harry and Meghan. They're not the people who can spend $35 million on a massive, massive LA property. They're not making that much. They can't possibly be making that much at this point. So that's a huge, huge risk. The other reason they're potentially moving is because Meghan Markle is apparently so popular in Hollywood, guys. Everybody loves Meghan Markle in Hollywood. Even though she doesn't go to any events, nobody invites her to anything. She's only shown up at one LA red carpet event in the last 4 years they've been there, and that was the Variety Women of Power event where she was seated at a back table away from all the celebrities. But no. Meghan Markle is so stinking popular within the Los Angeles community. Let me see if I can find the quote here. It says, they're actually been shocked by how popular Meghan is. Her team has never seen anything like it. There's this perception that Harry and Meghan have been snubbed in the entertainment industry, but the way they see it, they're choosing quality over quantity instead of grabbing every opportunity that comes their way. Now, that might be somewhat true. But what also could be true is that they're getting really crappy deals anymore, and they can't bring themselves yet to go to the lower tier than they think they deserve. But the thing is, that's kind of what they set up for themselves at this point, because they haven't delivered. Hollywood, at the end of the day, it's a business. And I think there was another quote from the Times that said, well, you only want a turkey at Thanksgiving. All Harry and Meghan have produced pretty much are turkeys. And again, I don't see that changing anything. We'll get to a great quote here later where I'm like, oh, if I was a Hollywood executive, I would run really far the other way. And because of that, there's just almost nowhere for them to go. They have to be producing things. They have to be making people money, because at some point, if you're not making people money, the money stops. I feel like this is not rocket science. Why do I have to explain like basic business practices to them? Now, if I was doing this channel, I signed up with some sort of YouTube bootcamp thing. Was just incredibly stupid. I shouldn't have done it because I didn't take anything away from it. But there were people on there who had channels for 7 years and could not get to 1,000 subscribers. And obviously everybody can do what they want to. I'm not saying things have to go either way. But at some point, the market should tell you that people don't like what you're trying to sell, that your channel probably is not going to be that successful if you've been trying for 7 years and nobody is watching. That's what I almost like kind of dismissed the program after a while, because it's like, I feel like somebody needs to tell them this isn't working. Why are you spending so much of your time, of your money on something that's not working. I learned this on Shark Tank too, because they would challenge people about this. I feel like if you're going to start a business or something, well, like binge watch a bunch of Shark Tank, like especially start at the beginning. They have a couple of different people the first season, but then they have Mark Cuban and it gets better because they do tell you a lot of things. Like one of the things is if something's not working, there's a reason it's not working. And you either have to change the product, change what you're doing, or maybe, just maybe, you need to leave it there. And I think Harry and Meghan, or at least their business partnership, should be at that point. This isn't working. You either need to radically change what you're doing, or we're walking away. We can't do this anymore. We can't fund your eccentricities without a proper return. And that is how businesses run. And I don't think Meghan Markle being popular is going to change things. Being popular doesn't mean anything, because are you popular because everybody knows who you are? Or are you popular because you're doing things and people are buying everything you put out there? That's the thing. I don't think people are buying what Meghan Markle is selling, either physical or even just her branding products and stuff. So how are people supposed to go further with this? I just don't understand. It's just not a smart business practice. And here's point number 2. And again, this kind of goes with what I was saying before is, she's so popular and apparently she's getting deals left, right, and center. Well, if that's true, why haven't they acted on any of it? If they're getting so many opportunities, why are we not seeing anything in the pipeline? And again, I think that's a huge, huge problem, is that despite her popularity, they're not getting good deals anymore. And we see this reflected in the failure of Archetypes. Spotify dropped Archetypes and we kept hearing Audible's gonna pick it up. Audible's gonna pick it up. Guess what? It's been 6 months and Audible has not picked it up. It's not picked it up because it wasn't good. And they knew it didn't make Spotify money, and so heck no was it going to make them money. So why would they invest? Meghan Markle is not an investable product. I think that's point number 2. I should amend that. Meghan Markle is not an investable product, and I think everybody knows that at this point. So she's getting sort of gutter deals now because more people who are lower rung looking for potentially a more risky investment are going to go with her instead of those who are looking for a more sound investment. You invest with Meghan Markle right now because it's risky and you either may get a big return or you may get a little return, but you're not going to spend the amount of money that Spotify and Netflix did. That's, I think, what's happening internally right now with Harry and Meghan. And so I think she is getting deals left, right, and center, but they're crappy deals. And if they're crappy deals, what are they going to do with them? They can't do anything with them. And so they're just sitting there and they're just not going to go anywhere. So she's also apparently wanting to move behind the scenes. So instead of being in front of the camera, she wants to be behind the camera, directing and producing. The problem is the entire time she was on Suits, she never showed any interest in directing or producing. Yeah. So what I find with good creatives or people who end up having like a lot of influence on their show is what they end up doing is they start off acting, and then as time goes on, as they build more credibility, they may try their hand at directing. We saw this with David Schwimmer. We saw this, I think, with David Boreanaz on Bones. I think even Emily Deschanel also directed. We saw this with one of my favorite shows, which is Psych. I think the main character guy, I know he became a producer and sort of one of the script writers, and I think he also directed, but they had another actor on there directed, and I think they actually had it open for a lot of actors to direct. We've heard that on Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well, that sometimes the actors go, hey, I want to give this a try, can I? And they're like, yeah, because there is sort of the mechanism, like the trampoline or whatever they put below buildings for firemen and stuff when they're working trying to save people. There's that safety net. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a safety net there with a show that's in good production and stuff. But Meghan Markle never showed any interest in that. She never showed any interest in the behind the scenes things. And yes, she had some exposure to it, but if she wasn't working hard on it, if she didn't really care then, why is she really going to care now? Why is she going to put any effort into this? Because she didn't before. So I don't think that's going to change now that it's basically all on her to do so. In fact, I'd be more worried as a producer or an investor because she might get overwhelmed quickly because she has no idea what she's doing. They need to start out small. They need to start off with somebody rather than trying to do this massive push by themselves. All it's going to do is just, again, end disastrously for them because she doesn't really have any background in this. And again, yes, she was an actress. Not saying she wasn't, but we have no indication that she ever did anything beyond what was required for her to do for the role. And even then, her acting was subpar. And we've heard before that she didn't really put any effort into a lot of things. And so because of that, why is she going to do that now? Why is she going to be good behind the scenes when she was even never good in front of the camera. It's just not going to translate. Yeah, yes, there are some people who do that, like Sofia Coppola, terrible in front of the camera, good behind the camera. But Meghan does not have that creative drive. She doesn't really even have an original idea. She sort of steals from other people and remarkets it and twists it to become her own, rather than it being her individually doing something. That's what I've noticed a lot about Meghan as well. And again, I don't think any of this stuff is going to change. And there was this really funny quote, which I was like, I don't know what this person is trying to get to, but it's really funny. It says, "We've seen countless appearances of Meghan on red carpets." I mean, that was before Suits. That wasn't after Suits. Let's be honest. She's had sort of one, and then whatever the Invictus Games can put out for her, because that is her one way to kind of get attention now. The story of her being back in Hollywood is all about Meghan trying to return to her own turf and being available for work and getting back to Hollywood. But I would suggest they are getting perhaps conveniently left behind by the Hollywood machine, who have probably had enough of them and enough of the negativity. They're hinting their big plans ahead, but you know, we've heard that all before. So they have to deliver something now. Again, that's true. Deliverable is key here. You can't just talk about it. Here, listen to a bit of Meghan Markle talking about their future plans on the Variety red carpet.
What is the thing that is, driving the work that you're going to put out into the business?
Things that make people feel, I was going to say good, but it's more than that. Things that make people feel something. But we have so many exciting things on the slate. I can't wait until we can announce them. But I'm just really proud of what we're creating. My husband is loving it too.
Now what you'll notice is she says nothing definitive. It's very vague. And yes, sometimes they do that, but I also think this is a symptom of the fact of they have nothing in the works, or they're desperately trying to get things in the work and Netflix is going, no, that's not good enough. No, that's not going to work. No, the script's bad. No, this is bad. That's bad. They're getting pushback now. I think in the beginning, they kind of were let have free reign. But again, the industry overextended on streaming. We've had these massive strikes that have put everybody out of work. Now that things are starting to get going, the industry has shrunk quite a bit. It's like the bubble in the real estate has burst. So now studios are being more and more cautious about what projects they invested in, because Disney has lost, I know they've said it like a low estimate, like 350 million or something. I think it's closer to $1 billion Disney has lost in this year just in box office, because everything essentially has been a flop. They've had one or two things that may have generated some sort of profit, but it was all minimal. Everything else came under and was not profitable. Now, obviously Netflix is not Disney, but again, you had this thing here where companies are losing tons and tons of money and they got to figure out where to squeeze. And I think Harry and Meghan are going to be squeezed out of the bottle and let go, because if they're not doing things, if they're not producing a good product, and we'll see why they're probably not going to in the future too, that's going to be a massive problem. And so I wanted to highlight this as well, because when I heard this, I was like, ooh. It says, it comes as Meghan, 42, is preparing to announce a new commercial venture in 2024, after it was pushed back from this year. Now, there could be a couple of things going on. Number one, it could have just been bad timing. They didn't want to announce it within the miasma of 2023, the disastrous year. Or it could be that this project is already in development hell, whatever it happens to be, and they can't announce it now because it's a wreck. And I think that is the problem, because we've heard this before. Omid Scobie even said every time he contacted Meghan's team about what she's doing next, about this particular project that's probably like Goop, Martha Stewart, something like that, it had changed 5 times. Now again, within the process of creating something, yes, there are things you leave on the table, there are things you take ahead. There's a process. I get that. But I think too, if you have a definitive vision, I think sometimes those things are easier to execute because you have a vision. Meghan Markle's always, I think, correcting to what she thinks people want, rather than having a vision herself and just executing it. That's what I did with this channel. I had a vision for this channel. Obviously, that morphed also into Royal Fashion News, because as I did the channel, I realized, well, I can't really do Fashion Fridays always because there might be news that week, and so that gets pushed back, and that says off my time schedule, and some people like the fashion stuff, some people don't, and so I created a separate channel for that. I'd like to create a separate channel at some point for history. Yes, there will be probably a royal history dedicated channel at some point. I don't have time or bandwidth to do that because I barely have time and bandwidth sometimes to keep up with the fashion, but that's what I want to do because each of those properties reflect different people's ideals. I should maybe do one with like European families or something because people just love Harry and Meghan and the Wales is on here. Maybe I'll do a separate one with the other. I don't know. Anyways, just spitballing, guys. But I'm a creative person, and so I have a hard time with Harry and Meghan because I was like, well, can't you guys think of something? I can do it, and I'm not even trained. I just have a creative mind, so I just think of things. And so Harry and Meghan, once again, they have this big problem, which is that they can't really direct themselves well. They don't know where to go. And so if I'm an investor, it's like, I want to have somebody with a strategic vision. Meghan Markle doesn't have that. All she's doing is spinning her wheels, creating new things, reacting to new things, rather than saying, I have one idea, let's execute this. And let's maybe, as we go through, maybe we adjust things. But I just think the problem is that the ideas aren't good and they're getting either pushback or things are falling apart as things go forward. And that's a big problem for them. And Meghan is the brains behind the operation. So if Meghan can't do it, you know for sure Harry is done for. He's like laying on the floor, doesn't know what to do. And again, looking at the state of their marriage, I can imagine that that's causing a lot of stress in their marriage, especially with the money issue hanging largely over their heads all the time and the family drama and everything, that nothing is going well for them has got to really be damaging their marriage. So looking at all of this, we have apparently some sort of direction Harry and Meghan are thinking of going in. And like I said earlier and teased earlier, if I heard this as an investor, I would run screaming in the other direction because I'm like, that's not going to work. Because they want to focus on their foundation, or apparently Meghan wants to focus on her foundation. The thing that's already losing money. It's already losing money. But she wants to laser focus on it. And the combination with their entertainment ventures spells doom. So here's what it says. And this is from the Telegraph. One of the sources said the Duchess remained laser focused on the couple's charity Archewell Foundation, which recently recorded a loss of $674,485 last year after bringing in a revenue of $2 million, but with costs of $2.67 million. Everything she considers must fall in line with an Archewell initiative. So it doesn't say foundation, but I would imagine given the paragraph before that, it's talking about the Archewell Foundation. So I'm an investor. I want content. I want good content. I want content people react to. And this woman comes up to me and she says, I have this foundation. It's losing money. And you know what I want you to do? I want you to put money into projects that reflect this foundation that's already losing money. And I would go, no, I'm not investing in that. And the Archewell Foundation, it's sort of boring and dull. It's not that exciting, and it's directionless as well because they seem to move with whatever catches their attention. And even a project like the Invictus Games documentary, Heart of Invictus, didn't even breach into the top 10. And so Netflix is not going to put more money behind something like that if it's not making them money. And what is important to highlight there too is that if every initiative reflects Archewell Foundation, then even some of their entertainment properties they can use as write-offs if it reflects their foundation. And don't forget, she only works on their foundation 1 hour a week, if that. That's what they reflected on their $990, but I doubt that's probably at the high end. So 1 hour a week she focuses on this initiative, yet she's laser focused on it. And so how is that going to help things? And again, I think I've talked about this before. It's like your philanthropic endeavors largely are there as a result of your entertainment business, whatever investment, whatever success. You can be a philanthropist, but you have to have money coming in from somewhere. You can't make entertainment and philanthropy work. I just don't think it's going to work. Yes, you can have documentaries that do well, but are they going to do as well as the scripted show overall? No. No, they're not, because scripted shows are endlessly rewatchable, whereas I think documentaries have a shelf life. Yes, people get all into them, but there's little return. There's also little investment when it comes to documentaries. The nice thing about them is you don't have to put that much money into them, and sometimes usually they can make their money back, if not make more money. And so how are Harry and Meghan exactly going to make philanthropy and their entertainment arms work together? And why does every initiative in their production side must reflect something from their foundation? That's just not going to work. You've got to separate them, because that's what they should be. They should be separate enterprises. And again, Harry and Meghan have also essentially dropped Archewell Audio. It was not included on their Christmas card. It just said Archewell Productions and Archewell Foundation. So it's like, so the Archewell Audio didn't do well, so you're totally dropping it? Instead of working on it, trying to figure something out, it's only tenable if Spotify's paying you or somebody else is paying you. And if not, then it's not. I mean, basically, they're saying that their audio arm is completely dead. They have no plans of resurrecting it. They have no plans to try. They're just letting it die a slow and painful death, rather than trying to do something. Again, as an investor, I would just go, no. If you've dropped something, then you need to either figure out what you need to do to address that issue, or you just need to do something. You can't just drop it. That just looks so bad. It looks like you've totally given up when things just didn't go a smidge your way, rather than working on your product and adjusting, course correcting. What that tells me is they're not course correcting at all. They're just writing it off as a failure and going their merry way, rather than figuring out what went wrong and maybe resurrecting it. Again, all this spells disaster, and I think a 2024 comeback just ain't in the cards. And another point I want to make is that Harry and Meghan apparently want to move away from the royal stuff. But are they? Can they? Is it too late almost to do that? Because we see this in this quote. It says, Harry and Meghan want to go in a different direction. They've said they needed to say, with regard to the royals, they're moving on. But yet they still use their titles. They still want to be treated as royals. Yet we're not going to talk about the royals anymore. It's, again, there's just a disconnect between reality and fantasy when it comes to Harry and Meghan. You guys use your titles liberally. You want people to treat you as a prince and princess. And yet, we're not going to talk about the royals. We don't want anything to do with the royals. But please don't forget to ever call me the Duchess of Sussex. That just doesn't work. If they want to be successful, they need to do what other royals have done and just drop the titles and be basically average Hollywood people. That's what's going to get you ahead. You're not going to get ahead by reminding everybody that you're royal, because all the people are going to remember too is the toxicity that you had with the family, how much better they are than you, and how much more power and influence and everything they have than you. It automatically puts Harry and Meghan at a disadvantage by using their titles. So they really do need to just drop the titles and move on. But again, I don't think they can. And let me end with this other quote, because the thing about Harry and Meghan, and even Meghan you could say especially, is that they could have been destined for success, but they failed. So it says, Meghan in the right hands is a superpower, the world's most famous woman, and on paper she could make millions for herself and whomever represents her. But she's proving to be too hot to handle. And even though she hasn't said anything about the book, this is Omid Scobie's book, she's guilty by association, and this is damaging for her and others as she plots her next career move. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Meghan Markle could have been a superpower in the world, but instead she chose the toxic route. She chose the family-hating route. And as it turns out, that just doesn't really have dividends after a while. People see through that. People don't like that. And because of that, now you're dealing with the repercussions of your own crummy decisions about your future. And that problem just ain't going to go away. Harry and Meghan, in order to address this, what they need to do is they don't need to go to a vacation in Costa Rica. What they need to do is go to Sandringham in the UK. And yes, probably most of the royals don't really want them there. But Harry and Meghan, I think, to truly fix their brand, need to make inroads with the royal family. That requires their discretion, their humility, their apologies, so many things, and that would help them. But they can't fundamentally do it. Meghan Markle cannot fundamentally do that. She is too self-obsessed with her own narrative. And because of that, they're just going to walk and step into one disaster after another. And this is not going to get any better. And I think 2024 could truly be the nail in the coffin. Meghan Markle has already taken off her engagement ring, and I think that's telling. She hasn't worn that this entire year, and this year could not have gone worse for them. And I think they should expect much of the same in 2024, unless they make radical personal changes within their life, which will require self-reflection, humility, and abandoning of their pride and narcissism. But I don't think Harry or Meghan could do that. And so they may think they're ready for a comeback, but they never arrived in the first place. I don't think repeating the same tried and failed methods over and over again are going to change that one bit. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.